This is Starfire. She is a turquoisine parakeet, and today we're going to be talking about what to do if your bird lays an egg. Starfire has laid an egg in her food bowl. Now, Starfire has laid eggs previously, even before she had a mate. Like, she does have a mate presently, but this is her kind of a regular routine. Female birds can lay eggs even without a mate. And when they lay eggs without a mate, the eggs will not be fertile. And sometimes even with a mate, the eggs are not fertile as the mating didn't occur or take place. Or the male could be infertile or the female can be infertile. And they can just lay eggs. And sometimes when they lay eggs, they don't lay on them at all. So the eggs won't hatch. Now, when birds are actively laying eggs, you will notice a change in their droppings. When they're about to lay an egg, like usually it's an all-day event, their droppings may be smaller. But then when they're sitting on the eggs, the droppings will be very large because they're holding it in all day. And when they're ready to lay an egg, they will hold it in as well, and it can pass a very large amount of droppings, which is normal. Look at that stretch. Oh, big stretch. Look at that. Oh, wings, big wings. Look at her. She's so pretty. She did that dropping back there. It's larger than she ever does. It's hard to say because, it is large. So that's normal. You'll see a change in the volume of their droppings. Some symptoms that your bird may have when they're going to lay an egg would be that they're lethargic, weak, they sit at the bottom of the cage, their tail is bobbing a little bit, they have either decreased feces or large feces, they stop eating and drinking, and they just look overall, they look ill, and it's possible you may see the vent area enlarged, and that would be like the shape of the egg. And just remember, if your bird does have a lump near the vent, it's not always an egg. It could be a tumor or something else. If your bird has a large lump underneath and it's been there for a while, it's definitely worth a vet trip. Females can get some reproductive issues, such as they can become egg-bound, where the egg cannot come out on their own, and they can get egg yolk peritonitis. They can get prolapse of the vent of the cloaca because they're straining so hard, they're pushing so hard for the egg to come out, and they can get a prolapse. Some female birds become chronic egg layers, and it's best to take your bird to an avian veterinarian to discuss what can be done. I know that there were some injections they can get. I had a canary that was a chronic egg layer, and this was a long time ago, but she got Lupron injections. And I've also heard that there are implants that they can give your birds to help them stop laying so many eggs. So it's best to discuss that with your avian veterinarian. Female birds can develop some behavioral reproductive issues, such as excessive screaming, and they will pluck and mutilate themselves. So if your bird has any kind of issues, it could be related to their reproductive system if it's a female. So always take your bird to an avian vet if you see any of those issues. Now, some ways to help your bird to stop laying eggs are to shorten the daylight hours. Shorten them to 8 hours because, the daylight gets longer in the spring and the summer, and it makes them hormonal and they want to lay eggs. So shorten the daylight hours, put them in a dark room. You can also move their cage to another room, change their cage, change your perches, take away any toys that they're regurgitating on or rubbing themselves against. You could do that. Take away anything that resembles a nest, such as that bowl where she laid an egg, or any kind of bowl that they fit into, any toys. They could just a coconut hut or something, take that away. And just don't feed them any warm foods, like any warm mash or warm chop. You can just give it to them at room temperature or cool, because when they eat warm food, it's more like regurgitation to them. when birds, they feed each other, you know, it's warm coming from their mouth into their mouth. It just, that's what they do when they want to breed. They feed each other. So if you avoid the warm food, that may help. And no cuddling, no touching. Do not touch your bird, not even on the head. Because right now you hear that little chirping. Like Starfire, she loves me and she wants to lay an egg for me. And that's her little love chirps. You hear that? If I talk to her, watch. Hi Starfire, she's so cute, she's my baby. See, I'm doing that, she's getting excited. Because she thinks I'm her mate. She wants to lay an egg for me. So no cuddling, no goofy talking, no putting them in your shirt, you know, hold them against you, rubbing their, especially don't touch their back and their wings when they're in this kind of mood, when they want to lay eggs and be all hormonal. Now, when your bird lays an egg, they will lay one every other day. And they usually sit tight on them once the last egg is laid, or the egg before that. They usually don't lay tight when there's only 1 or 2 eggs. They will, you know, go in the nest and maybe lay on it for a second, come out. Sometimes they won't lay on them at all. So it's best just to leave the eggs there if you don't have a male and they're not fertile. And let your bird lay on them, because if you take your eggs away, they will keep laying more eggs to replace the ones you take away. And the best thing you can do for your bird is to get some dummy eggs like these. These are canary dummy eggs. And what I was doing with my canaries, they would lay eggs and I would put these in the nest. So when they lay 1 egg, if she has 1, I would take that away and put 1 in there. When she lays the second one, just take it away. Just replace them all. I got, 6 eggs, because usually they lay between 4 to 6 eggs. So dummy eggs, they do come in white and they come in other sizes depending on the size of your bird that you can get. And these are a great idea that you can let them lay on these instead of the real eggs, especially if you don't want baby birds. If you don't have a male and they're not fertile anyways, you can just let them lay on that egg. But just be wary if they crack. You want to check on the eggs because they can crack and leak, you know, the insides of the eggs, and that can cause bacteria. So you want to take those away. And when your bird is laying eggs, it takes a lot of work. It can wear out your bird. And your bird can be depleted of calcium, especially if your bird is on an all-seed diet, as they don't have the calcium in their body to produce the eggshell and to even pass the egg. And that's why some birds become egg-bound. So make sure you have like a cuttle bone. Here is another cuttle bone right here. Cuttle bones are for calcium. They're very soft. If your bird does not use the cuttle bone, does not chew on it, you can just take this cuttle bone and scrape it with a knife or your finger. Like, look at my thumb. It just makes a powder. See the powder that's coming off? Oh, you want to have some? And it makes a powder, and you can spread that on fresh foods. Just like that. And that way they'll get the calcium. You can also feed them calcium-enriched foods. That will help. Just make sure you don't overload the calcium, because you know, that could be a problem as well. There are also products that you can buy for your birds, calcium. This is a liquid calcium that I use for my birds. It also comes in a powder. Just make sure you're not overdoing it. And but they do need the calcium to, you know, make that egg, make the eggshell, and to pass the egg. It's best to provide your bird with a very healthy diet. You want to research diets, as an all-seed diet is not ideal. An all-pellet diet is not ideal. You need a lot of vegetables, a lot of the dark leafy greens, vegetables. You have to figure out what your birds eat. You want to sprout some seeds, the greens, the legumes. They need a lot of food, especially when breeding. And then if the babies hatch, you need some egg food. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of studying that you need to do if you want to breed your birds. But in the meantime, if you don't, the dummy eggs are a fantastic way to go. Or I've even heard people just leaving those eggs in, and what you do is when the eggs are laid, you can just shake them up so that they won't hatch, they won't develop, and you can shake up those eggs. If you don't have dummy eggs, you can shake them up and put them back. Or I've heard people boiling them and putting them back. And so those are some options that you can do if your bird lays some eggs. If you want your bird to have babies, make sure you research about raising baby birds and taking care of breeding birds. It's just a lot of work. You have to get the proper nest box for their species. There's a lot of different nest box for different species, and the proper bedding for the nest box. You have to make sure it's non-slippable. There's a non-slippable bottom because the little baby birds can get splay legs. And make sure you know how to hand feed little birds, even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day-old birds, 1 week, 2 weeks, because sometimes the parents stop feeding the baby birds, and you're going to have to take care of that. And you're going to be up all night long feeding these birds all around the clock. You won't be able to go to work, or you'll have to find someone to take care of these little baby birds that need you, because they need to be fed like every hour and then 2 hours, 3 hours. So it's a lot of work, and you'll need an incubator, or you can makeshift an incubator. You have to keep the baby birds warm, and you'll have to get hand rearing food, and like a syringe or a spoon. There's a lot of things you can use to feed a baby bird, and you have to know how to feed the baby bird, what angle to feed the baby bird. So raising baby birds is very hard. Just make sure that you research everything first if you're thinking about letting your birds have little babies. I have to decide if I will be giving a nest box to Starfire and her maid Judy, or just waiting to see what's going to happen, to see if she will lay other eggs. Sometimes, like in the past, she just lays 1 egg and that's it, and she doesn't even bother with the eggs. So hopefully this is the what's going to happen, so I don't have to worry about any babies or anything. Or I can just decide to replace them with the dummy eggs and not worry about any little babies. If you like this video, you may like the video that's up on the screen. Give it a tap and you can go watch this video. In the meantime, happy birding!